Welcome to this episode of the $1 Million Mastermind. I'm Larry Weidel, and before we get started, if you want to know exactly how to win again and again, go to weidelonwinning.com/webinar now to watch something I've put together for you. Now let's get going into this episode of $1 Million Mastermind. I'm talking with Mike Zeller. He's founded 12 companies. He's helped launch over 100 new startup businesses, made over 300 million in sales. He's on the Forbes Coaches Council. And so, Mike, a lot of great achievements at an early age in your life, and proud dad of a, what'd you say, 7-month-old girl?
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Congratulations there. And so, as a fellow dad, let me just say your real education is just getting ready to begin or has just begun.
That's right.
Because that's why they come. They come to give you an education about life that you had no idea. Now, when you go out, talk about how do you become, how do you found 12 companies? How do you become get on the Forbes Coaches Council? You're starting out, you have your degrees, you start out in business. How did you start out and not just stall out with one company or one position?
I've tried enough things, and I'm still innovating and creating new things, but I try and test, and I recognize that the win is not in an individual specific outcome for that one project, that one business, but it's in the learning and the growth and becoming a master. Tom Brady didn't say, hey, you know what, I played a perfect game, now I'm hanging up. And he's like, I'm coming back because I enjoy the game, the competition, the challenge, the growth that happens, the pursuit of mastery. And so I'm also uniquely wired. I'm a creator on the Wealth Dynamics, which is one of the personality tests that I highly recommend for anyone in entrepreneurship or leadership. But my unique pathway is to create, and that means I'm going to have bigger highs and lower lows. I'm going to have some big flops and some big wins as well, and I have. And so that's a piece, because a non-creator, like a lord or a mechanic, like how many companies did Andrew Carnegie really start? He started U.S. Steel, basically. That's what he's known for.
Right.
Rockefeller started, Standard Oil, because they were locked in on one thing. They were building an empire. I'm more like a Richard Branson, Steve Jobs, having different things that I keep creating and innovating in and testing. So just appreciating who you are. It's like the quest in life is not to become someone else, but it's become the most true version of yourself, and that's how I'm wired. And then,
how do you get Forbes Coaches Council? What does that even mean?
You got to do 7 figures in revenue, and then you have to apply, and then they do an interview, and if they accept you, then you're in, and then you write for it and all that.
Oh, is that right? And so, how did you get make the transition to where you're starting your, not just running your own business, but you're starting to coach other entrepreneurs? Because I'm sure that's an enviable situation, because in a teacher-student situation, the teacher always is learning more than the student. And I'm sure it puts you in a catbird seat for a whole lot of learning while you're coaching these other people on the way up. So how did you make the jump to where people looked at you as a coach and paid you for it?
Yeah, I had a lot of people start reaching out to me in 2015 and 2016. I was getting some press, different things, and people were just reaching out. People I knew in my Facebook network and other friends. Hey, Mike, can I pick your brain? I got this business idea, blah blah blah, and go to coffee, lunch, etc. And then soon enough, 6 months later, I'm like, dude, I'm spending like half my week doing free mentoring. And my other businesses started suffering, and I was like, all right, I got to figure out a way to justify my this investment. I loved it, and people were having great results when they took action. I was like, but I was also frustrated that people weren't sometimes taking action. It was because it was free advice, not paid advice. We take paid
Right.
advice more seriously. And so I started charging $1,000 a phone call because I was making $1,000 an hour in my other ventures. So that's where I really started. And then I just started doing one-on-one primarily
But
back
now, when
then.
you talk about your Facebook, was it by this point, you probably were not writing for Forbes already?
No, no.
And so what was it? Just success in your other businesses? And
Yeah. Yeah, and so that gave some headway. My real estate business, car dealership, had a men's fashion line, sustainable fashion line, marketing agency. So I had a bunch of different things happening at the same time. And but it was, yeah, it was like I was doing multiple different things and getting some attention for that. And that one thing leads to another, and soon enough, but I also knew my long-term path was to help mentor others and
yeah,
help others avoid the stupid mistakes that I had committed as well.
what was the biggest thing that you belly flopped on?
You know,
And how did
um,
and how did you let that happen to you?
yeah, yeah. I would say, my men's clothing line, there was wins and nothing. I don't think anything's ever really a total flop or a total win. But the men's clothing line, like we had a successful Kickstarter, so that's a big win. Identity,
Right.
breaking through that, launching a clothing line, learning about apparel, e-com. But you know what? I ended up losing 250 to $300,000 on that venture total of my own money, and it was, I couldn't, like, I over invested in very expensive product. My t-shirts did really well. If I had stuck to t-shirts, man, I would have done really, really well. But you know, that's a learning lesson. I spent about $100,000 on some inventory for premium denim that did not sell. And when it didn't sell very well, now I was kind of stuck. And then I just kind of like had a couple cascading things that just went wrong, and I was too reactive
What does that
and
mean?
over
Too
I was,
reactive? What does that mean? Too reactive?
yeah, I didn't take some time away to strategically, I didn't take enough time away to strategically look at all the things that were happening, all the things that were, all the plates I was juggling. And and I could have paused, I could have recalibrated, I could have said, hey, how do I get through this inventory real quick? um Instead, I think I felt frustrated. I didn't have everything dialed in, and I needed more support in different ways, but I couldn't. I didn't get the quite the right formula for the business.
And in that business, were you following a successful role model or just generally seat of the pants?
I was always reading and studying. I read a book a week typically, and then I was part of Tony Robbins' Platinum Partner program at the time. So I was reading and studying all the time, learning all the time. But there was definitely some mistakes and some things where I was, yeah, just improvising on my feet.
Hey, listen, there's a lot of information online, but there aren't a lot of people who've actually done something. In my case, I've actually built a successful business that's accrued over $5 billion in assets under management and has done well even during trying times. Now, if you want to know exactly how I've done this, go to whitelmwinning.com/webinar now. I've compressed a decade of learning into 5 short weeks just for those of you who want to give yourself an incredible advantage and are tired of waiting and watching others move up.
And the thing, like you say, when you work and you try things, you never really completely lose because you're picking up contacts, you're picking up
Hmm.
skills, you're picking up, you're learning to recognize red flags
Hmm.
earlier. That when you're coming up, one of the reasons many entrepreneurs historically have averaged 2 bankruptcies before 40
Yeah.
is because nobody told you to recognize, certain red flags. And
Yep.
then once you learn how to recognize them, and most of the time, you find out it's not because these people took the lessons and came back and, did it 10 times bigger. But the thing is, if there's just no place you can go and learn you couldn't remember them all the things you got to watch out for. There's too many things, like raising a kid. You got to watch out this, make sure you do that. It's like, I'm just going to get in and do the best I can. And, keep moving forward and try and do more right things than wrong. And then when I do something really wrong, never do it again, but, how did that inform you going forward after that?
First season after some bigger failures, we kind of lick our wounds, and we have some I had some shame, and my tail was tucked between my legs for a while, but I realized, hey, I can't stay here. I'm not going to provide for my family. I still have gifts to offer the world, and I also had some pre-framing, because I recognized I already had a healthy regard and appreciation for failures. And I knew, like from John Maxwell's book, Failing Forward, and other friends, that failing is part of the journey. But when you get stung by it as a high achieving type, man, it can really sting for the moment. And I was like, all right, I got to create an alter ego. I started, I don't remember how I came up with it, because I hadn't really heard of Todd Herman's great book called Alter Ego at the time. But I said, I knew the power of identities from Tony Robbins. I was like, you know what? This version of me that has shown up in a weak, dispirited way, I'm going to call him Weak Willie. And then the other one is Magic Mike. Because I had a client say to me, Mike, you create magic in my life, is what she said. And I was like, I like that one. I'm going to do that. So, and then I just started declaring every day. And even this morning, I drove down to Chattanooga for a consulting gig, and I was like, at 6 a.m., I played I Am Magic Mike. I have it on my audio playlist, and 2 minutes of affirmations. I'm a powerful force for good. I'm a wealth magnet. I'm a loving and doting father and uncle, and boom, boom, boom. I'm a prosperous author, et cetera, with 3 beautiful homes and 3 of our favorite cities across the world. So
where are those homes?
I don't have them yet. I don't have them yet, because I'm still in the build phase.
Okay.
Yeah, Nashville, Los Angeles, Florence, Italy. Those are where they're going to be.
Have you ever been to Florence?
Oh yeah, we got married in Florence. We love it.
Where in Florence?
We rented a villa right up in the hills, looking down upon the city. So
oh yeah, those are some spectacular views, aren't they? I mean, they have
no doubt.
The vineyards up there and all of that. Some great vantage points. Well, congratulations on that. Congratulations on all you've been doing. Thanks for sharing so much. And by the way, your website is what?
MikeZeller.com, and then you can get a free copy of my book, GeniusWithinBook.com, or text the word Genius U with the letter U to 474747, and you'll get a free 6-step guide to find your genius. But again, GeniusWithinBook.com and MikeZeller.com, and then social media, the Mike Zeller on all the platforms. Except for any new ones that have been invented that I'm not aware of. But that's who I am and where I'm at. And then my last word, Larry, is that what's next?
Yeah, just if you had a chance to give a final word to people.
In 2020, I talked with this guy named D. Hawk. He's the founder of Visa, as in Visa debit and credit cards, and one of the true pioneers in the banking and finance industry in the 60s and 70s. And he was 98 years old at the time, and he's still alive today. But after he retired from Visa, he started writing for Harvard Business Review, and he started researching the very best leaders in the world and what they did differently than ordinary leaders. And he found that the very best leaders in the world spent more than 50% of their leadership energy on leading themselves. So what does that mean? How do we find how do we figure out our unique path? I think this is where my book, my process, because I've been on this quest and continuous quest to improve and to refine and expand. Man, our lives are littered with clues. The problem is they've been scattered. So my quest is to help organize, synthesize, and interpret all the clues about your life to help you find your deepest area of genius and help myself as well. So, because if we lead ourselves into our deepest area of genius and we master ourselves, King David wrote in the Bible, Proverbs 16:32, it's better to have self-control than to conquer a city. Socrates said, to know thyself is the beginning of all wisdom. So let's begin there. Knowing ourselves, appreciating ourselves, owning our greatness, and the world becomes our playground.
Wow, you knocked it out of the park there at the end there. And
Oh, thanks, Larry.
yeah, fantastic. I'm just too curious. What was behind getting married in Florence? What prompted that?
One of my best friends, he was our best man. He's a professor at Cambridge of entrepreneurship, and he said, Mike, if you get married in your hometown, all the people from your past come, but if you do a destination wedding, the people from your future come.
Wow.
And we love Florence, Italy as well. So that's my favorite city in Europe. It's the birthplace of the Renaissance.
Absolutely.
It's one of the most unique cities in the world. Easy to get around once you're in the city. So it's pretty amazing.
All right. Well, thanks so very much for sharing. It's a lot of fun. Wish you the best.
If you enjoyed what you've heard and are dead serious about finding out for yourself exactly how this works in the real world, I've taken the most valuable business lessons I've learned over 40 years and put them into something for you to watch. Go to whiteelementwinning.com/webinar now in order to move up as fast as possible. I'm Larry Weidel, and I run the $1 Million Mastermind. Go, go, go.